The effects of Washington's official withdrawal from the landmark U.S.-Russia treaty, which banned certain short and intermediate-range missiles, kicked in very quickly. Just one day after the announcement, the newly appointed Pentagon boss said he wanted American missiles somewhere in this part of the world.
It's fair to say, though, that we would like to deploy capabilities sooner rather than later. I would prefer months. I just don't have the latest state of play on timelines.
Russia realized something was cooking, and on Monday, President Putin had this to say.
If we receive verified information that the US has finished developing and started producing these systems, Russia will be forced to begin its own full-scale development of similar missiles.
In the build-up to this, Moscow kept saying that the collapse of the treaty would be dangerous, that it was all part of a bigger plan by Washington, that the Americans accused the Russian military of violations only to use them as a pretext for their own military expansion.
North Korea flexes its muscles. It fired 2 short-range missiles similar to this one into the sea as its neighbour South Korea began joint military exercises with the United States. A statement by Pyongyang's foreign ministry condemned what it called aggressive war exercises simulating a surprise and preemptive attack on the DPRK, denouncing them as an undisguised denial and a flagrant violation of the ongoing diplomatic process with both Washington and Seoul. The annual drills have always infuriated Pyongyang, but it's generally avoided firing missiles while the war games are taking place. Seoul, for its part, says the North's action undermines the peace process launched at last year's Inter-Korean summit.
The night before she died, she had dinner with her grandmother Ethel, and she finished a school essay. Friends and family say that Saoirse seemed to be happy and in a very good place.
As investigators await the toxicology report that could offer clues into what caused Saoirse Kennedy Hill's death, on Monday, her body was laid to rest, not far from the Kennedy compound in Massachusetts. Family and close friends gathered outside Our Lady of Victory Church, paying their final respects to the 22-year-old who was found unresponsive last Thursday at the family's famous estate. The granddaughter of Bobby Kennedy was taken to a nearby hospital where she was later pronounced dead. Saoirse's family, who called her their Irish Rose, posting warm memorials on their social media.
Break your ankle, there's some advantages.
Uncle Robert F. Kennedy Jr. posting a picture of a young Saoirse with her mother Courtney and grandmother Ethel.
Houthi leaders say the campaign to raise funds for Hezbollah began in Houthi-controlled western Yemen in late May. The United States says both groups are proxies for Iran, and the criticism began soon after the campaign launched.
Collecting $250,000 for Hezbollah makes people laugh and cry at the same time. Rational people can't comprehend it. Government employees haven't been paid in 3 years, and the militia is appealing for donations.
Yemeni government officials say the donations are in exchange for Hezbollah supplying Houthis with ballistic missiles used against Saudi Arabia and government forces. People living in areas controlled by the Houthis say the donations are compulsory.
The Houthi rebels collect money for everything. They've established custom checkpoints between their areas and the government areas.
The Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has reacted angrily to the decision by the Indian government to revoke special status for Kashmir. He has threatened to report India to the United Nations Security Council, and he says Pakistan will fight this move at every forum. India says that the decision to remove special status is needed to ensure security. Indian-administered Kashmir, meanwhile, remains in lockdown.
A state in lockdown, all but cut off from the outside world. India has flooded Jammu and Kashmir with tens of thousands of extra troops and police. Phone lines and the internet have been blocked since Sunday. The result, an atmosphere of uncertainty and apprehension. But some are happy. Among the state's non-Muslim minority, expressions of support for the government's bold move.
The 9 a.m. United flight from Glasgow to Newark Saturday morning never took off. This morning, the 61-year-old captain is scheduled to be in court to answer charges he had too much alcohol in his system. Even before making it to the cockpit, Scottish police say someone noticed a smell of alcohol. Breathalyzer tests led to the arrest of both pilots. The first officer was later released, but the flight was canceled. United says it's cooperating with local authorities in Scotland and says it has a, quote, strict no-tolerance policy for alcohol. Strangely, nearly 3 years ago to the day, 2 other United pilots were arrested in Glasgow, ready to fly that same flight. Both over the limit for alcohol, both serving 2 months in a Scottish jail. Just last week, a Delta pilot in Minneapolis pulled out of a cockpit after acting strangely at a checkpoint. A bottle of vodka found in a restroom he visited.
Two British aviators have set off on an audacious attempt to fly around the world in a vintage aircraft. The 40,000-kilometre journey will take the silver Spitfire that flew in World War II through 30 countries.
Not since the 1940s has the Spitfire faced such a daring assignment.
Goodbye, this is Silver One departing now to the north. The journey begins.
This a dream mission for British pilots Matt Jones and Steve Brooks. With the help of a small team, they've stripped this veteran aircraft of its guns and paint, and the former weapon of war will be flown around the globe as a symbol of freedom.
The world is taken by the Spitfire, so the idea is to take this to the world and let them see it in their skies.
Extra fuel tanks have been added to the so-called Silver Spitfire to help it fly large distances at a time.
Durban's housing backlog is well known. But it's not just the living who are struggling for space. There's a critical shortage of sites in the 65 cemeteries citywide.
Those sites that have not been used in total are 5,000 of them. Now, if you calculate that all in all within a month, we use anything just above 8,000. So this means in the next 6 months or so, the city won't have any new burial sites at all.
So why not just allocate more land?
It's conceivable that in this city, after so many years, the city will turn into one very big cemetery if you keep on establishing new cemeteries.
The eThekwini municipality says it's looking for permanent solutions.
Today was the hottest day of the season so far in Korea. Heat wave warnings were issued for the entire country, and the government is coming up with measures to keep people safe from the scorching heat.
South Korea continues to boil under a heat wave on Monday. The mercury went as high as 37 degrees Celsius in some parts of Seoul and over 40 degrees in Anseong, Gyeonggi-do province, making it the hottest day of the season so far. Heat wave warnings were in place for the most parts of the country, and the temperatures during the daytime will also rise above 35 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. As of Friday last week, some 800 people, mostly elderly people, suffered from heat-related illnesses.